Welcome to another edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. Bubba, today we're gonna unpack a lot with our guest Chris Mohr. Now, Chris, of course, has punted in the NFL. He has a storied career. Played at the University of Alabama. We'll jump into that a little bit. And we found out before the podcast started, avid deer hunter.
Yeah, which that fits in nicely here.
Yes. So, Chris, welcome to Rick and Bubba University, the podcast, buddy. How are you?
Great.
So
Great to be here. Appreciate y'all having me.
We were talking, when we first got in, and you don't want to bring any attention to yourself. And Chris was sitting here, and he's punted at the highest level and been on special teams and helped people get to the Super Bowl 3 times. And I said to him, I punted in the NFL myself, and I said, and he said, really? And I said, yeah, the neighborhood football league.
Right.
And,
it's a little different deal. Right?
I was a barefooted punter in the neighborhood football league. I couldn't make myself put my foot down, and I said, I'll tell you what, you take this shoe off, you'll put it down. And boy, I could just sail them. I mean, you wouldn't believe how well I punted in the neighborhood football league.
We all started out there.
Yeah, isn't that it? Isn't that where it all starts?
Yeah, Chris, tell us a little bit about your high school days, because we want to find out about being recruited and how you ended up at the University of Alabama. But tell us about you growing up and about your high school football.
So I'm from Thompson, Georgia, which is also the home of Ray Guy. So I grew up.
Wow, yeah, a lot of pressure there.
Yeah. And like you, I my aunt bought me my first football uniform when I was 7. I played for the Dolphins. And I practiced the whole year when I was 7 and couldn't play, because my aunt knew the coach, and but it was fun. I enjoyed it, and I, from that day, from my first experience on the football field there, I loved it, and that was my favorite sport. And I was a quarterback, punter, and defensive back, and I was at my whole, up and through my high school days. I was recruited at Georgia and offered a scholarship. Early in my senior year, they were recruiting me as a safety to play Terry Hogue's position, rover back. Excuse me. And so I didn't answer any other questionnaires. I mean, I bled red and black. I grew up 60 miles from Athens, and so it was a done deal, I thought. And then, I went through my senior year. We had a good senior year. We made the state championship and lost. I forget the score, but we lost pretty good. But
well, wait a minute, you're not saying runner-up again?
Oh my
again, it's followed me my whole life.
State championship runner-up. So when you were in high school, so obviously you were punting, but you were also playing for defensive back
and quarterback
even in high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I go to. I went to Georgia's football camps every year, and that's how they really found me. Because I went to a private school in Thompson, Briarwood Academy, and I ran a shuttle drill that was the fastest of that camp or whatever, and I sort of raised their eyebrows or whatever, and they started following me. And anyway, Bill Lewis was the coach that was recruiting me, and 2 days before signing day, which is a Monday, our secretary from my school came to my class and said, Chris, as a coach from Georgia, wants to talk to you on the phone. So I was figuring that he was just going to tell me what time they'd be there Wednesday,
right.
Signing day
sure,
and stuff. Yeah. So I go get on the phone, and it was Coach Lewis, and he said, he was at Atlanta Airport. He said, Chris, I hate to tell you, but we've overcommitted on scholarships and want to see if you would take a preferred walk-on. And my high school coach was out of town that day, and I'm sitting there just shell-shocked. I didn't know what to say,
Yeah.
So my high school coach came back into town on Tuesday, and he called around the SEC, and I won't take this personal, but he called Auburn first, and thank God they didn't need anybody.
Oh, wow. Well, there he goes. There he goes. I mean, go ahead.
But then, and then he called Alabama, and Coach Felker answered the phone, and they had heard about me and had seen film on me, and within 2 hours, he was at my high school watching me punt and throw and shoot basketball and stuff like that, and that was on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, me and my high school coach, and they actually had 3 scholarships still available. This was signing day, pretty much,
Yeah.
And which is unheard of nowadays. So we drove to Tuscaloosa, and I've never been in the state of Alabama till that drive.
You live in Georgia, and you've never been to Alabama?
Well, Not even to buy fireworks?
I live on Augusta side. I live like 30 miles from Augusta.
Okay, so you'd go to South Carolina.
Yeah, we always went that side. But anyway, so that was the longest drive I ever had in my life. I thought, probably the longest drive I've been on at that time in my life.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we drove over here, met Coach Perkins, and met the coaches, staff, and rode around and visited the campus. And that was on Wednesday. And on Thursday, we drove back to Thompson. And then on Friday, they flew in, and I signed with Alabama. And I wouldn't be sitting here today if I wouldn't have signed with Alabama.
Right.
And I see Coach Dooley a lot at different functions. I did back early in my career, and we laugh about it then because at the time I was devastated. And the people in my hometown were too because they're all Georgia fans, or most of them. And
I was going to ask you, how'd your family and friends and teammates take that?
They got upset. I mean, they were, and we had some pretty high people, that are Georgia boosters and stuff, and they wrote some nasty letters and whatever, and told them how they felt. But like I said, the Lord's got different vision for you.
Yeah.
So what year did you graduate high school?
84.
Okay.
So, but really, if Georgia had come through with what they said they were going to do, you go to Athens.
Right.
So you really didn't put the wheels in motion to that. It wasn't your fault. Right. Is that what you tried to explain to the boosters that wrote you nasty letters?
No, they didn't write me nasty letters. They wrote to the university.
Oh, did
for not signing,
not getting it done
for the way they treated me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, that honestly, and Rick knows kind of how that feels too.
You and I had a very similar story. And my mama turned the switch off on that school that she really had loved up to that point and had a strong connection to.
Yeah.
But then her grandson ended up playing for him later, so she had to turn it back on. But then she turned it off again. But same thing.
At that point,
I literally had the same story you did. I was told I was going to be signed and got to signing date to hear from the head coach that they had changed their mind and had a new strategy and wanted me to be a walk-on. And you're like, what? It kind of throws you a curve because they've been telling you all along, oh, you're in. That's it. We want you. And in those days, like you said, it was different. We didn't go on the internet and tell you how many stars we had. And today we're moving our hats on and off and committing to our team. I mean, people told you they were going to sign you. You believed them, and you expect them to come over and sign you.
Yeah.
And
when
then
you're 17 years old.
Right.
So did Alabama sign you as a DB or just strictly punter?
Quarterback, punter.
Okay.
And then, excuse me, we had 8 quarterbacks on the roster at the time. Shula Mike was starting quarterback, and Vince Sutton came in with my class, and then we had I think we had 8, and Coach Perkins, the punter Terry Sanders at the time was a senior, and my redshirt freshman year, and my form was bad, and Coach Perkins got Dave Jennings from the Giants to come and work with me for a couple of days on my technique and stuff, and that was my redshirt freshman year, and I was able to travel with the team to get used to game day experience and stuff, and then I started punting my freshman year after Terry graduated, and 5 of the quarterbacks were going to graduate after my going into my junior year. And then Coach Perkins said he'd move me back then. Well, that's when he left and went to Tampa.
Right.
So I didn't really, this is the only thing I wish I would have probably done different in my career was I went up for the golf team then and that spring when Coach Curry came in. And I found out quick I wasn't good enough for that.
Right, right.
But it was a fun experience. Still got great friends that in fact, they go watch Dickie Pride when he's in town every summer at Greystone, and some other guys that played golf then. And but it was a great experience. Coach Wingo didn't like it though. But.
I was about to say I'm actually having lunch with Wingo today, and so I'm gonna ask him about you and see what he has. Wingo was tough, wasn't he? I mean, he was a tough strength and conditioning coach, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he taught me. You know how every coach has got that one coach.
Oh yeah,
the one that does all the yelling.
Oh yeah,
you know, it could be the strength coach, could be the offensive line coach, defensive, whatever. Well, he got that. He got me prepared for that in the league, you know, early.
We're talking about Rich Wingo that played at Alabama and for Green Bay, and he's a hard-nosed individual.
Linebacker, and so he would take us at the punters, kickers, and snappers, and
they gave Wingo y'all.
Well,
he had to do everybody,
but this was during practice.
Yeah,
he was like, y'all come with me, and so we go with him. He'd find a mud puddle, and we'd have to do up downs in a mud puddle.
The punters and the kickers and the snappers.
Yeah.
That's funny.
He just felt like that y'all were standing around too much. He wanted to go
I was going to ask you at Alabama, were the kickers, you know, a lot of schools, it's almost like they're not on the team. They're doing their own thing. They're taking a smoke break, you know, whatever down there, kick. I mean, but you were a little more integrated into the team and the physical aspect of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did quarterback drill or throw, you know, for different drills and stuff, but at times that's early in practice, and I did that in the NFL too. But it was just you know, it was Rich. His big, I don't know if he probably still has that big Dream Bronco.
No, he didn't have that anymore. I don't see it anymore. But then y'all used to have to push it
around the Coliseum. I never had to push it because I was always on time.
Right. Yeah.
Luckily, I never had to push that joke. But he. Yeah, so he got me ready for the league. I'd always find that coach, you know, you want to know who he is, you know, on the team.
Oh, yeah.
There's always a screamer.
Yeah, Wingo got you ready for it.
That's right.
All right, we'll come back more with Chris Mohr when we continue this edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast.
Rick and Bubba. This is the Rick and Bubba Show. Watch more at blazetv.com/Rick and Bubba.
All right, Chris Mohr is our guest on Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. Yeah, Bubba mentioned that you still had you know, some quarterback reps that you worked on in college, but when I went to play, I actually ended up playing for Troy, and when I got there, because I graduated '83, 1 year before you graduated high school. And so
I'm pretty good at math. That math was my only good subject.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. And so, but I had never seen specialized kickers. Because, you know, I came out of high school, the linebacker kicked extra points and field goals, and then, like you said, a defensive back or a quarterback punted or a receiver or something, but we didn't have specialized kickers, so I'd never seen that before.
Right.
And I think I saw my first one my senior year. A school had one, but that was about it. So when I get to college, I've never been around specialized kickers, and I didn't know who they were. And Bubba mentioned that before the break, and I asked, I said, who are those people? And of course the veterans on the team said, well, those are kickers. And I said, what? And they said, yeah, they're going to go down there and kick and punt and work on that until we bring them in for special teams and just working the team. And I looked, some of them didn't have a helmet on, some did, you know, and then I looked down there and Bubba loves to slide, and I looked at him, I said, should they be smoking? You know, and I looked at that guy's punting. And so I had never experienced that before, but I learned you guys were extremely valuable. Well, I mean, extremely valuable. And I was a snapper, so I'd have to work with with it a little bit at times. So I got my fill of that. But I found you are a little bit different. Of course, punters may be different than kickers, but you seem like, you know, we'd all go hunt and do whatever. A lot of kickers I was around, they were a little bit different. But I mean field goal kickers. They were a little different.
Yeah, most of them are. Were soccer players,
right?
Growing up,
yeah.
And we didn't have soccer while I grew up. I used to kick straight on with a flat. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Pull your toe up.
Yeah.
Did you tie it up?
Well, I had a strap.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then you had to limp when you're running down.
Yeah. So you go to the University of Alabama.
And how was that? What is it like to run on the field and play for the Alabama Crimson Tide?
I mean, it's being from Georgia and not experiencing a game there ever. It's amazing. I mean, you know, watching it on TV, and one of my good friends was a big Alabama fan. He had Coach Bryant stuff all over, you know, and Alabama stuff, and you know, back then I thought that this was, you know, that's when Oklahoma and it's like one step below the NFL, I thought.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. Oh yeah.
And so, I mean, I was definitely blessed to be able to, for the way things happen, and to be able to, come to such a great university. It was great,
Yeah, and you became quite a dominant force for them on field position. It's rare that you know the name sometimes of punters, but like when you mentioned Ray Guy, there's a reason we know who that is, because he was a game changer, and your name became very familiar. Watching, being in Alabama and watching both teams from Alabama and who all they were playing, you're one of the few punters I actually know your name because of the impact that you had. I mean, to be not pulling for you was not much fun. Because you would come in and punt, and we go, well, here we are back inside the 10 again, and that kind of stuff. So, but no, we kid around a lot, but when you've got a great punter, it's a huge advantage.
Yeah,
because it's a game of field position,
right? And
plus one that can throw if they need to.
Yeah, right. You still had that,
and I'll go to Buffalo, and I'm thinking, I kick it far as I can, and they want me to kick for hang time.
Right.
So,
yeah.
When I started out, and Buffalo's a pretty tough place to punt. When you
a little
first,
cold.
I would think.
Yeah.
And you've been in Georgia, Alabama, and now you're in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Of course, you did go to Tampa for a little bit, right, before you went to Buffalo?
Yeah.
So but still, now from Tampa to Buffalo.
Right. Well, I had the World League in between.
Oh, did you do World League?
1 year, the first year they had it was 91 or 91. And my agent, this is after I've been cut and then sat through a whole season and didn't get picked up. But Green Bay had called and Dallas had called after the season. Well, this new league was starting up, and my agent talked me into going to that. And so we go to Orlando, and it's like you're going to a cattle sale. You're standing out there in your shorts, and coaches come through looking at you, all the guys. And then they break you up in the positions, and like the punters all went out, and we all just started punting, and then they had a draft and drafted, and I got drafted by Montreal. I didn't even know where Montreal was.
Right, yeah.
I mean, and then so we go to Montreal, and I didn't realize it was a French-speaking country.
Right.
Well, all I learned was bonjour, comment ça va, salut, bye, merci. Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. And did a lot of pointing.
Yeah.
And did a lot of pointing. So I didn't even know you ended up in Montreal. I had no idea that you did that.
Yeah, I mean it was that season started in like April, sort of like the USFL was this year.
Yeah,
about the same. It ended in June, and then Buffalo signed me. I ended up leading that league and punting, and then Buffalo signed me, and so that was in we started that season in April or May. From May to January, I played in 33 games. I played in 10 different time zones, 3 different continents, 4 or 5 different countries, all within like 10 months, 6 months.
Chris, when you
months.
when you leave Alabama, you're all SEC. You're on top of the world. You go to Tampa Bay. You get cut. Was that tough? Did you because for the success you've had, that's probably the first time you've been told no.
That's about as close as I've come to wanting to fight. Yeah,
right.
Like somebody, because Coach Perkins, I was sitting at his desk like me and you, and he said, "Chris, I hate to tell you, but we got to cut you." I couldn't talk. I just sat there, and
he'd been your college coach.
Because you played for him in college, too.
We had just, me and my wife at the time, just bought a house that he signed on my job security 2 weeks before. After I got cut, my wife was hanging curtains. I said, "You can cut that out."
Yeah. I just got cut.
Yeah.
So you found out.
Wives take that real well.
Yeah, you
too.
found out real quick. It's a business. Even the guy that signed my income that's what it is, so I could get the house. Same guy cut you.
Yeah. 2 weeks later.
So now you're in the business.
But again, that's in my testimony. That comes back to I was blessed enough to go. I saw the world and played in 3 Super Bowls. played on great football teams.
Well, in Montreal, did you think you'd ever get back to the NFL? Did you think you were good enough, or was it just the next stop to keep the paycheck coming?
It helped a lot. I mean, because I was able to be successful. You know, if I'd have gone there and, you know, laid an egg,
right.
You know, nobody would have signed me probably. But
and the good news, you didn't have to go far to go to Buffalo. I mean, just over the line.
But it's a good thing to talk about since they're trying the spring leagues again. You can say that spring league, though, helped you get back to the NFL.
Oh, yeah. We had quite a few guys that helped.
It did help.
Yeah.
Yeah, you led the league, and so somebody said, well, I tell you what, he can play with us. So now you go from Tampa to Montreal to Buffalo, set back on Tampa. Now you're back with your next shot at the NFL. When you got there, they'd already been to one Super Bowl, right? And you pick up on now the next three.
Pretty good team.
Right.
Pretty good team at that point.
And, you know,
several Hall of Famers on there.
Oh, yeah. I'm flying out today. We got alumni weekend this weekend up there. So
oh, really good.
You'll see them all up there. But, yeah, I mean, it was the most grueling competition because they had actually 3 punters in there. And you hardly ever have 3.
Yeah.
You have 2, and then normally – but we had 3, so it was very grinding, but luckily I was blessed enough to win the job.
So now you're punting with the Buffalo Bills. They really had an opportunity to win the Super Bowl the year before you got there with the missed field goal, right?
Yes.
Scott Norwood, just short,
just wide right.
Oh my goodness,
it was wide right.
So was the attitude with the Bills? Hey, that was a fluke. We're gonna win it. And then this
unfinished business.
This incredible run of the Bills dominating the AFC.
It was. I'm like you. I mean, the only guy I knew on that was Cornelius. We played together, you know, at Alabama.
Sure.
And so he's the only guy I know on it. But you know, everybody else you see on TV. I mean, I knew of them. You know, Cornelius, Thurman, Biscuit. I mean, Bruce and Jim and all
Jim
them.
Kelly.
Yep. Yeah, and so you talking about some characters and egos, and I mean, it was crazy. I can't tell you on the air about stuff. I tell you
all of it. Yeah, sure. Understood.
But no, I mean, it's just goes to show how great a job that Coach Levy did, because he had so many.
What was his style? How'd you like Marv Levy?
He's great, like a granddaddy, you know, type.
Yeah,
but would stand up for you no matter what, you know, as a player, and he just organized. He was very smart. History, and he's got a master's in history and a master's. And we had so many. Our speeches were all pretty much war stuff. You know, coming in on a wing and a prayer, and about talking about that story in the war, and because we were playing Miami or something, and we were underdogs, and so he brought that story out, and it was, I mean, he was a great.
He knew how to inspire.
Yeah. In a different way,
and I remember
without yelling.
The NFL films, they always play back that, and it was I guess it was when you were there. If it wasn't the year before, where else in the world would you rather be than right here, right now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, and I bet that's the kind of stuff you had from him all the time, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. And he, I mean, just like this kind of guy he was. So something happened in my car or something, and I was late for a meeting, and so. In the league, you know, they can fine you anywhere up to a certain amount of dollars, say $1,500 or whatever. Back then, that's what it was. It's probably a lot more than that now. But so I was late for a meeting, and the only time I'd ever been late. And he came up to me after the meeting, and he handed me an envelope. He didn't want to give it to me. He said, "Chris, I hate to have to give you this, but I got to." He handed me the envelope, and I opened it up. He said, "Fine for being late, $5."
$5.
So, you know, that just shows you he was worried about giving me a fine for $5, you know. But the next one would have been about $1,500, you know.
Yeah. But he knew the kind of man you were, and he thought it was a little ridiculous to put that on you.
But he
stood up for you.
He had to do it because you know, you're
legalistically he had to do it. But you're saying he was a player's coach. He stood up for his players.
Oh, yeah,
so
for sure.
Amazing winning seasons. You go to the Super Bowl. What is that like as a player?
I tell you, the AFC Championship game was more grueling to me because you're one step away from going to the Super Bowl. And we were playing Denver in Buffalo, and it was cold, as you imagine. And the only touchdown we scored was a defensive touchdown. I think Carlton Bailey intercepted the pass. I think we won like 10-6 or something. It was just one of those nail biters. And it was so cold, I wore 2 pair of socks on my left leg just trying to stay warm, because I'd always just wear one on my right because I want my shoe to be tight to my foot. And so I had to wear a half size bigger on my left side. And I broke my ankle in college, so I like to wear high tops just for extra support, Yeah. And anyway, so I'm punting in the net and stuff. I didn't punt but twice this game, I think, 2 or 3 times. But every time the offense has the ball, I'm in the net punting, just trying to stay warm.
Sure.
So, and I could feel my toenail catching something every time I would plant, So anyway, after the game, after the adrenaline and everything wore off, I started taking my shoe off, and I was like, man, my foot hurt. And I looked down after I took my shoe off, and my whole front of my sock was red. I said, oh, that ain't good. And I took my sock off, and my toenail was catching on a seam in that shoe. And every time I would plant, it'd pull it back further. And by the time I got out the game, the toenail was still connected, but barely, and I could lift it back. You talking about it hurt? God, it hurt. And so
the good news, you didn't have to put it in ice, so did you?
Good Lord, it hurt. But in fact, it still ain't right. But it was. That just goes to show you. But the Super Bowl, when you're out there warming up, and Trump was on the sideline, and Rush Limbaugh and all them.
Sure.
Plus it was in Minnesota. That was a terrible place for a Super Bowl. But
right,
being there was unbelievable.
All right, we'll come back. We'll continue our discussion with Chris Mohr when Rick and Bubba University, the podcast, continues. All right, so let's talk about. Chris was just talking about being comfortable. Let's face it, the adrenaline that was flowing, he didn't even know he was losing his toenail. But the comfort is important, and that's what Tommy John is all about, especially this time of year. Hey, the heat. But did you know, with the design of the Tommy John underwear, you actually can stay quite cool and comfortable where it counts. You need Tommy John's because you'll be much cooler, and it's something that keeps everything better. If you're comfortable and you feel like you're cool where it counts, they're breathable. They're a lightweight fabric, 4 times the stretch of the competing brands, and with dozens of comfort innovations, Tommy John keeps you looking and feeling cool all season long, whether you're just hanging out at home or you're out, doing recreation in the summer sun. Tommy John doesn't have customers; they have fanatics. Bubba, you and I can speak to that.
Oh yeah,
17 million pairs sold. You will immediately tell the difference. Immediately. Tommy John underwear and loungewear. Get yours now, and because you're checking out Rick and Bubba University, the podcast, you just put in the code. Go to TommyJohn.com/RickBubba. Put that together. That's our URL for 20% off the first order. Again, 20% off the most comfortable underwear you've ever worn. Go to TommyJohn.com/RickBubba. That's TommyJohn.com/RickBubba. See the site for all the details. Chris Mohr, our guest on Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. So you're there at Buffalo. You played your first Super Bowl with them. You said it was wild seeing the celebrities and everybody at this big event. You guys lose the Super Bowl. Now they've lost 2 in a row. You've lost the first one with them.
So it's kind of like being a Minnesota Viking. That I cheered for as a kid growing up. I don't know why.
Right, because you like their helmets.
I guess so.
Yeah. But the team is loaded. You guys are great.
Still loaded.
But it seems to be, I hate to bring up, almost like what we're talking about with the Minnesota Vikings. Other than the game against the Giants, now it seems like when you guys got to the Super Bowl, the NFC team was one of these dynasty teams. Y'all, it's not like y'all didn't face great competition every single time.
So then we played Dallas the next 2 Super Bowls back to back, and that's when they
peak of their.
They just had a huge offensive line and
massive
turnovers killed us. In those games, and it was just they just out physicaled us. Just beat us.
but you're still the second best team. And I know, we all want to be the winner, but man, there was a lot of good teams in the AFC that you guys beat, and y'all put together a tremendous record during those 4 years.
This was before free agency started in '93, I think. So that's when our team started getting broke up. But until then, you kept everybody together, and I think Cornelius might have been the first one to go once free agency started. Then Frank Wright went to Carolina.
Yeah,
when they started a franchise, and slowly the guys started leaving. I think me and Bruce and I think Bruce, Andre, and Thurman were there the longest. Thurman ended up going to Miami to finish out. Bruce ended up going to Washington, but that was like in '99, and then my last year was 2000 with the Bills, Music City Miracle.
We're going to talk about that.
I started to ask you. I think we were at one of your games.
Yeah, we were. We'll get to that, but I want to ask you before we get to that, because in that run where the Buffalo Bills go 4 times to the Super Bowl and lose 4 times, because Lombardi said winning is contagious, but unfortunately so is losing. Did when you get into kind of Super Bowl 3, would there be the attitude when things started going south? Well, here we go again. Or did you?
How did that
unfortunately
mentally?
that game it started earlier.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that one got ugly.
What was the mentality of the team at that point? Did they just feel like, well, we can't get over the hump, or how do you think of that as a professional at the highest level?
I think we were good until maybe the first turnover we have in the game. The second game when we played them in Atlanta, we were actually leading after half, 13-10, and we were driving, the opening drive of the third quarter, and we had a fumble, and the guy Washington, I think, picked it up and turned it for a touchdown. It's like here we go again.
So that would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, after
you could tell the mood of the team would change.
I mean, it wasn't after that one set play, but it might have been after the next 3 and out.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of feel the air coming out of the balloon a little bit. Tell us about Jim Kelly. I had the pleasure of being in his golf group at Regions one year. Very impressed.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, he's had so many battles he's had to overcome.
Goodness. Yeah.
With Hunter first, his son, that he was born on the same day he was, and had Krabbe's disease, which was a very rare disease. And, I guess the life expectancy is like 2 years, and I think Hunter made it about 6.
Oh, yeah.
And then he got mouth cancer.
Oh, yeah.
But he never dipped or chewed back or anything.
That's weird.
He was having neck surgery, and they went through his mouth, and they think that they triggered whatever to
almost like woke it up.
Yeah, and because it came, up here, and he had to have all this reconstructed. But I'll see him hopefully this weekend too, and he's doing good now. I mean, he loves to hunt too. We go hunting a lot, and. But he's had battle after battle, but he's tough. That's why we got shirts that say Kelly Tough.
He's proven that.
In our round of golf, he was throwing passes to all of us out on the fairway and to fans. I mean, he very fun guy. Yeah. Had a great time.
Yeah, he. I got to speak at a men's conference with him one time when he came to kind of give his story, and I'm back there with the boys, some of my sons. And he's taking his Super Bowl rings and letting them run off with them on and on. And I'm like, I don't know if you should do that. If I lose one of your Super Bowl rings, I'm not going to be very happy with that. And and his attitude was, because I asked him about it, just sitting back there, behind the stage and whatever. His attitude was, look, I understand we didn't win them, but you know what? We're still the right kind of proud, not the wrong kind, not arrogant. We feel like that we stand in an elite group of teams, and it's not easy to get to the Super Bowl 4 times. And I'm not going to like that's not an accomplishment too, because it is. I mean, that was a run that a lot of teams don't see.
I mean, this is the way I explain to people: if New England couldn't go to 4 Super Bowls in a row with the teams they had,
right,
that just shows you how hard It is.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'll ever be done again. 4 in a row. I mean, there'll be, you know.
Yeah, well, there's been teams, you're right, they've got numbers that exceed that, but in a row,
yeah,
that's I mean, we acknowledge, like you said, the free agency didn't come to 93. Keeping the team together helps. Yes. But still, I mean, I don't care who all you got 4 in a row because of all the things that can happen in football, injuries, the things you have to that you don't ever know you're even going to deal with, coaching changes, and with the front office, what are they going to do? Right. That kind of stuff. So it was impressive, and really, other than the close game against the Giants the year before you got there, I mean, they ran up against phenomenal teams.
Yeah.
And like I say, Dallas twice, and was it the
Washington?
Washington, yeah, and that was the weird one, but that was one of those days where you go, my goodness, it was not our day.
Yeah, for sure.
Chris, I want to ask you this because you have some other things here we want to talk about, but just from a punting thing, and Rick and I have talked about this some. You mentioned Ray Guy. We grew up watching Ray Guy kick for the Raiders.
Oh yeah,
he kicked the ball as hard as he could every single time. Even if the Raiders were inside the 50, he didn't try to hang it, and it wasn't a hang time. He would still kick the coffin corners where we got the name. He'd kick it as far as he could, make the referees figure out where it went out.
Yeah.
So why – because it seemed like that died off in the NFL, and they went to the hang time or the backspin or trying to down it inside the one where – Ray Guy used to let the referees figure it out where it was between the 10 and the goal line. Why did that change? Because obviously there's been a change in technique or thinking from the coaching standpoint.
Yes. I call it the Australian kick, the backwards.
Right.
Didn't come along to right at the end of my career. I think Darren Bennett started doing it a little bit out in Seattle or San Diego, and he's from Australia, but. And then so once that, I guess guys started practicing that, and they've gotten pretty good at it. I ain't even tried it, but that just feels weird, But
because you used to try to turn it over like a pass and let her go.
Yeah, I would go for the corners too, directional kick when it was available. You'd have to play the wind and all that too.
Right.
Ray was out in L.A. and this, that's a great place to punt. As opposed to Buffalo, but
with a howling wind.
Yeah. But then now that crowd now they would smoke at halftime. Ray and them,
that was a different era.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back more with Chris Mohr when Rick and Bubba University the podcast continues. Bubba, none of us like feeling like that our hard-earned money, because we don't have choices, that we're funding businesses that go out and stand up against the very things we hold dear.
Well, you hate to be
terrible feeling
financing the people who are working against what you believe is core values for our country.
Well, and when it comes to your cellular service, I want you to know sometimes there's not any choices, but with your cellular service there is. Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative mobile phone provider, and they have been on the front lines fighting for the things that we do hold dear. Now, they're different from every other provider out there. Inflation's made it really hard on many Americans, but thankfully, Patriot Mobile has plans for almost any budget. And here's what I know you're wanting to know. Let me answer it now. They offer the same nationwide coverage as all the major carriers. So we're not talking about that you got to downgrade in order to feel better about who you're dealing with. You have the same coverage and great service and knowledge that the money is not going to finance things like that you would oppose. They're actually out there fighting for the sanctity of life. They're fighting for religious freedom in the Second Amendment. So patriotmobile.com/RickBubba, or you can call them at 972-PATRIOT. Now, our code is RickBubba. Put that together, and you'll get free activation. If you're a veteran or a first responder, let them know, because they have special discounts for you, too. Join the movement. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile. We're with Chris Mohr, Bubba. It's our last segment with him. We got about
we're running
about
out of
7
time,
minutes. So, do you want to get to the Music City Miracle?
Well, we got to address that quickly, okay. Chris. And we may have seen you run back out on the field to kick. At halftime, we were involved in a promotion where we were catching punts that came out of the machine.
Yes.
And they were about a 45-yard punt, and during the year they had celebrities out there catching punts, and they put them in a helmet, one of these big cage defensive linemen.
We had to wear a helmet. We had to wear a helmet.
So they and we'd seen these punts hit people in the head. We'd seen them fly over them. And the crowd booed. I mean, just went nuts because if they caught it, the whole crowd won something, like a free pizza or a coupon or
coupon
something.
for pizzas or something.
So Rick and I are going to do it in that game. And it was cold and the wind was blowing, like you said, it was nasty.
It was nasty.
And I'm out there first, and I think, I really don't want to be booed by this crowd. I cannot let the ball go through the wicket here. I got to close the gap.
We're wearing winter clothing because it's freezing. If you remember, it was terrible.
Oh yeah.
So that ball goes up, and I'm trying to track that thing, and it's blowing around, and I got it, caught it, and I was so happy. The crowd is cheering. So I start running down the field. I'm feeling the energy from the crowd.
You're returning it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, T-Rack comes out there, mascot, and acts like he's going to tackle me. And, I'm not the fastest guy now, but I'm thinking a guy in a mascot head, he can't move.
No.
So I juke him a little bit, and I go in the end zone, and he comes and grabs my feet, so Rick's up. And, of course, Rick is not going to let me catch it. And he miss it because he know he's going to never hear the end of it.
Yeah, I can't miss it now. and they shoot that thing up, and I'm thinking I can't be the guy who and it's
blowing around.
Yeah, looks like a BB well.
and keep in mind, Bubba was a great baseball player. I'm defensive lineman. And I'm like, nobody ever punched to me. And so I catch it. And unfortunately, I don't know why T-Rack didn't learn. Rick that's the raccoon mascot.
And he starts down the field like I did, and T-Rack come out and act like he was going to tackle Rick. Well, Rick's not as good at, say, juking, And
he's more straight line guy.
And Rick just runs over T-Rack. Flattens him, knocks his head off, and the head is spinning in the end zone with this guy laying with a mascot outfit about the 5-yard line. And it is the funniest thing.
It's the
ovation. Oh, yeah. You get all kind of weird because some people are crying
little kids are upset. But the true football fans like, yeah! I go in the end zone. How many times am I going to score in the NFL?
Yeah.
Never.
That's awesome.
And Chris, about that time, you may have been coming out of the locker room.
I wonder if you even you were focused on other things. But I just think there's a chance you were out there starting to get ready for the second half and saw us run over T-Rack. I so remember him going, "You ran over me, man," and I was like, he was kind of like, it's just a joke. Wait, then he didn't have to plow me.
And we ended up. It's real funny because I know this is painful for you, Chris. But we ended up staying on the sidelines for the second half.
Yeah.
And we're standing on the Titans sideline.
Unbelievable.
We think the game's over.
Everybody does.
Thurman Thomas had
the Titans think it's over.
I forgot who scored, but I remember Thurman Thomas telling the crowd to be quiet. Coming back off the field.
No, I had just held for the game-winning field goal.
Was it a field goal?
16 seconds to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the biggest change of emotion in a game, and because we had a pretty good team.
Yeah, you did.
And even though we had quarterback issues at the time, but we had a good core defense and stuff, and we had two good quarterbacks. I mean, Doug Flutie and Rob Johnson.
Yeah.
But the thing that gets me is if that game's played in Buffalo, do they call that a forward pass? I mean, how much more visualization do you need than the ball's being thrown from? You see the line here, and the guy catches it across the line here. That's forward,
Christie kicks it high and short. Fielded by Lorenzo Neal at the 25. Pitches it back to Wycheck. He throws it across the field to Dyson.
He's got something.
30,
He's got
40,
something.
50.
He's got it.
40,
He's got it.
20, 10.
He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown Titans. There are no flags on the field.
Chris, I'm sorry.
That's cold, Rick.
Tennessee has pulled a miracle. A miracle for the Titans.
Sorry.
That's cold.
You okay?
Rick.
No, that's good.
Well, Chris, what's funny too? We're watching the play start. We're down about the 30-yard line.
The promotion guys telling us we really enjoyed this season, man. We
everybody's wrapping it up.
Nobody thinks they're going to win.
We all on that end or this end?
We're on the end. He's running toward because we look and we see Dyson coming down.
Because he threw it from the 30 on the other side.
Right.
20.
See, we weren't up there for that. All we look up and we're talking.
We see Dyson coming. We'd even discussed going to the parking lot.
The game.
And I said, you know what? He
I looked
may
up,
have a chance.
Like, you know how you see the helmet
here.
still going? I'm like, is he returning that?
They got the wall set up.
I did.
It was over then.
Gosh.
It's just like the Auburn game. on that field goal.
Yeah.
But but I think that was just because I was in the greatest comeback in NFL history too.
Oh yeah.
Against
the Oilers. Oh, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've been on both ends of it. Those.
What
Crazy.
a career, man! You've had a great time.
Thank you for being with us too, man. What a
we
blast.
didn't even get into you writing country music songs, so you got to come back for that.
Come back.
Yeah, I understand you're working on a new song called Rick and Bubba. So, Chris Mohr, hey,
the NFL
neighborhood football league.
Not for long.
Not for long. Thanks for being with us, and thanks to all of you for being with us on this edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast.